What's up guys, Foobier here, and today we're going to be reading r/AskReddit. Let's get in it. People who were childhood friends with a now celebrity. Who were they? And what were they like as a young person? My dad interned with Tom Hanks when he first started out at the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival. He was very kind and charismatic with everyone, and just a constant ball of energy. When his son Colin was born, he proudly showed him off to everybody. He was probably just days old. About 3 years ago, there was a reunion of all the Great Lake interns. My dad went, not knowing if he was going to show up, and if he did, if he'd remember him. But not only did he show up, he approached my dad and remembered him by his full name. He is honestly just a really great man. Tom Hanks will always be the golden standard of good dudes. If tomorrow you read Tom Hanks punched a nun, your first thought would be, what the hell did that nun do? Taylor Lautner would get mad when some people called him Shark Boy in high school. I can't say I blame him. So he went on Twilight so people would call him something else. And then he appeared in Adam Sandler movies because he wanted to get away from Twilight? At some point you gotta ask if he should be allowed to make his own decisions. My uncle went to college with John Cena. He said he would walk down the dorm halls naked. They couldn't see him, so it was okay. Narrator. They could, and it wasn't. Mike Myers went to a high school down the street from mine. We hung out with the same people. Charmingly funny and very humble. I haven't seen him for a very long time, but I do watch his interviews, and he seems to be the same guy he was. I always loved it when he came on TV wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf jersey. Happy he's done so well. He was a jokester and always good to people. Hasn't forgotten where he came from. That's endearing and rare. Crazy how he went on to kill all those people. I was once in a waiting area where to be called in for a job interview when randomly a 4-year-old sat next to me. He was super cute swinging his legs. He looked at me and says, "I'm not afraid of Michael Myers anymore." I respond with, "That's good." And then he says, "Yeah." Always wonder which Michael Myers. Is he afraid of Austin Powers or the serial killer? Probably Shrek. My ex's great-grandmother grew up in an apartment building in Chicago. Told her that she and her friends would sit out on the stoop, and occasionally, this very nice man, Capone, would come around with a few very pretty dressed up, painted up ladies. And he'd give the kids candy, and help some of the families pay rent and groceries. I imagine that's when criminals still considered themselves to be gentlemen outlaws in a way. I don't really know how to say it, but read accounts of Capone from others, and he sounds like a real gentleman if you don't know what he did. I think it was more of gaining the public's trust, so they would be less likely to rat you out to the cops. The Yakuza would do the same thing when they were at the height of their power in Japan. Just take a look at how people think of Pablo Escobar in Medellin. My mom went to college with Bob Odenkirk, Better Call Saul guy. They were in the radio department together, and apparently he was super funny. They also took shrooms together, and I've been jealous of my mom ever since I heard that story. He was also a very successful writer on Saturday Night Live, and co-hosted one of the best sketch comedy shows ever called Mr. Show. Bob wrote the famous "I Live in a Van Down by the River" sketch with Chris Farley. Not me, but my aunt. She knew Snoop during high school, and at the time, everyone there were getting into colors. She decided to join in and tied a bandana to her arm. Later in the day, he took it from her without a word. Turns out that people wearing her color were being hunted down. Overall, pretty cool dude. I hear he hasn't changed much. Everyone in Long Beach from that generation has a Snoop story. Ask your aunt if it's true that Snoop was really good at math, but low-key about it. Can confirm. Once heard him say 1, 2, 3 and to the foe. My great-grandmother, still alive, lived close to Elvis's home. They talked like 3 times. She literally thought he was the most annoying little shunt. My grandma was a year above Elvis at Hums High School. Also said he was annoying and not very well liked. Refused to take me to Graceland, LOL. My old roommate went to high school with Jake and Logan Paul. He said it was when they started to get big on Vine. They started turning into complete a-holes, so nothing changed. My roommate in college shared a class with Logan before he dropped out. Said Logan would always tell people, "Do you know who I am?" whenever they didn't immediately recognize him. No one should ever say that, but especially not a 20-year-old with popularity from an app, making content for literally children. But now he's too rich to care, and I'm sure that's a daily thing he says. The only response to that question is, "Should I?" Or, "Yeah, aren't you the guy from Dawson's Creek?" I lived in the same neighborhood as Eminem growing up. He was a few years older than me, but since we both kinda stand out, we ended up hanging out with the same people a few times before he got famous. Though he was already locally well known. We weren't friends though. He was pretty serious and kinda seemed like a recluse, but definitely not afraid to speak his mind if he felt it necessary. Never exchanged more than a "sup" though. Did you try the Eminem's famous mom spaghetti recipe? I wish. Not me, but my father went to high school with Viggo Mortensen, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. He said he was a really nice guy from the couple times he met him, and that he totally understood how he went on to save Middle-earth. My dad is a huge Lord of the Rings fan, if you can't tell. It's good to hear. I have so much respect for that guy. I went to school with Sophie Turner, Sansa Stark. She was a couple years below me, but I was in a few plays with her. She was just an average girl, to be honest, in every way. Really normal, didn't stand out, but wasn't quiet or shy either. She never really got the big parts in plays, and wasn't even considered to be one of the good actors at our school. Was always just a part of the chorus. Was quite surprised to hear she got a major part in a TV drama. Seemed to come out of nowhere.
People who have underestimated the Lady of Winterfell are dead now.
Most of them anyway. My grandma went to high school with Ted Bundy. She said he was quiet and didn't really have friends. Who'd have thought he'd grow up to be such a lady killer? Oh god. My grandpa taught at the same university that Bundy's mom worked at. Even went over there a few times for dinner. Never met Ted, but said that Miss Bundy seemed perfectly nice and couldn't believe that her son grew up to be a monster. I was best friends with Post Malone in high school, and he's pretty much the same person he was then in high school that he is now. Just some more wild adventures, but his personality has been that same, and it's nice to see. With all the fame and money, he stayed who he is. Fun fact, he used to be an indie music guy in high school, wore Hawaiian V-necks, high-water tight black jeans, and Toms. Coolest, chillest, and funniest dude you could have hung out with. Do y'all still keep in touch? He doesn't know Post Malone, he only knew pre-Malone. Don't know if this counts, but I went to the same junior high and high school as Jason Ackles, Dean Winchester in Supernatural. All the teachers would talk about how nice he was, and how he was gonna make it big. I think he was already a regular on a soap opera by then. I finally saw him when I was in tech theater. He had come to see his sister in a high school play. He stayed to the end and looked so proud of her. Holy crap, so did I. Well, junior anyway. I don't remember him, which considering my time in school is a good thing. I do know I knew who he was though, because his name ended up in a dairy mention, as an offhand neutral mention. Went to high school with Neil Patrick Harris. He wasn't a bad dude, but he wasn't humble in the least. He was still working on Doogie Howers. When he was at school, he wasn't allowed to be himself, surrounded by fans and others. He had the nickname of Drama Dork by some of the other cliques. He hasn't gone to one of the reunions. Also went with Freddie Prinze Jr. He was a cool dude, but hung out with guys that stroked his ego and bullied others. I was an unfortunate victim to that. He hasn't made it to a reunion yet either. Went to elementary school with Justin Bieber. He was a total bully and a huge a-hole, but for some reason he took a liking to me and invited me to all his birthdays. A funny memory I have is of him making fun of some kid on the stairwell, and then tripping and falling down the stairs and then crying all the way to the principal's office. He has always been a total douche. He gets that from his mother. She stayed in one of my company's Airbnbs once. We don't usually give special treatment to guests, but she was demanding all sorts of things, including that we buy and bring her a guitar. The owner paid for a nice guitar and brought it to her, which she ended up keeping and never paid for. I feel like when a kid of that age is a massive douche, it usually just means they have crappy parents. My younger brother was friends with Justin Bieber. I didn't know him super well, saw him here and there, but always stood out, even before he was famous, as he was the type of kid who would very loudly make fun of and bully others. I remember him being kicked off the city bus a few times for yelling at and being rude to mentally/physically disabled people, along with just old people in general as well. All around, my memory of him was that he was an a-hole. This is 100% true. I went to school with him and rode the bus with him after school. One time, he sprayed an axe down the bus aisle and lit it on fire to stir crap up. Another time, he made fun of a girl from a lower socioeconomic background by putting up his DC shoes to her seat and telling her, "My shoes cost more than your house." The entire bus laughed and the girl got off at the next stop. He is/was an awful person. Alright guys, now let's switch on over to the bonus, which today is going to be r/memes. Let's do it. When weebs go to Japan, but there are no subtitles. I wonder if there are people who go to Japan and are genuinely confused as to why there aren't big-titted, pink-haired, and blonde chicks walking everywhere. Are you going to sleep? Yes, I am. It's 4 a.m. Now shut up. You should masturbate. Shit, might as well. The disgusting video is still playing. Me, after I've jerked off. And then you gotta think on top of that, it's 4 a.m., so you're really tired. Just not a good situation. Dear lads, please try to pee inside the toilet, not on or next to it. It will be much appreciated. Please urinate with precision and elegance. And here I was about to put my thumb on the garden hose and start spraying about. Glad you said something. Thanks for the heads up. Having a professional looking Twitter account, appropriate for an entrepreneur. Elon Musk. Elon Musk isn't an entrepreneur, he's transcended that. Don't know what he is, but this man is a level above. For anyone who may have forgotten, this man made a song about Harambe. Alright? Transcended. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. It helps the channel out and it'll keep you updated on new uploads, which we do every day. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. If tomorrow you read Tom Hanks, how you doing?